This video is sponsored by that juicy fat subscribe button and that gorgeous like button. If you've been riding with the channel, I love you, and let's make it a goal today to get more likes on this video than sales that Drake will have for his new album. Oh, now Lobries and Gentlegrams, in today's episode of Lobry in Gentleland, we will be discussing how Defamation Drake, the freaky frontliner of the colonizing courthouse Karen comedic crash out, the PDF petition Poppy pulling Party Next Door out of the sweatshop for a new project. The sexy red stunt double has been sassy on Instagram, dissing all of his fragile ops, aside from Kendrick of course, and stealing other artists' work. So let's break down all the feisty Finsta firings at the sassy spiraling sexy red stunt double's fragile ops, and the long-lasting streak of Lobry losses leading up to his latest LP. Now, to all you OV hoes who are trying to paint Drake as the victim, especially after Kendrick's victory lap at the Super Bowl, in this video you're gonna see levels of pettiness from Drake that Kendrick could never reach, even if he was tall. A lot of you guys forget that this is how Drake was acting after he actually won a rap battle. My point is that all this smoke is warranted, and instead of playing victim on Instagram, putting up petty posts and petitions, in my eyes, the only real way Drake is going to redeem himself is by making real, authentic, vulnerable music. And for someone who has openly admitted that they lost this battle, right? Because he wouldn't have filed a lawsuit claiming damages to his reputation if he thought he won. And if that's how you really feel, wouldn't you want to put this whole thing to rest, make the world forget about it? I mean, you're about to drop an R&B album. You're on tour in Australia. You've removed yourself physically and artistically from the situation, yet you still continue stringing it along by dropping petty sneak disses time and time again. And it's not directed to Kendrick. I would have no problem if he sends shots at Kendrick. Matter of fact, I'd love it. Open up to us about your whole perspective on the beef. But no, of course, instead, Drake is too scared to go at Kendrick, so as a result, he's channeled his anger over the last few months into petty sneak disses at The Weeknd.
You have to switch this song though.
It's on a play, you know, so like...
You have to switch this one. We're real sixers. We're real sixers. They're real six side. We don't listen to that.
Steve Lacey.
Guy's like a fragile op, but it's a good song though.
It's a fragile op. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, he's like a fragile op, but it's a good song though.
What does that mean, a fragile op? No.
Chat knows what I'm talking about. Fragility.
LeBron James, DeMar DeRozan, Ebro, Joe Budden, DJ Khaled, Serena Williams, Lucian Grange's daughter-in-law, and the list goes on. The only time he's ever acknowledged anything Kendrick related is when he liked a post of Kai Cenat talking about how the crowd at the Super Bowl was silent during Kendrick's performance.
Okay, oh my God, they add sound effects to the NFL. So right here, there was no sound. I just heard crowd sounds. All my life right here, there was no sounds. They add crowd effects? I did not know that. Kendrick Lamar came out. Word to my mother. If anybody was there, y'all knew it was. Y'all knew it. Y'all felt it. Crowd was making no noise. This is me being honest. I was there. The loudest times that they made, the loudest time that the crowds did was, I think, him being shown for the first time, SZA, Samuel Jackson being shown for the first time, and then They Not Like Us.
I don't think Drake realized they were chanting the only line that mattered to him. But yeah, instead of actually going at a rapper, Drake decides to continue stringing on this whole war of him against a never-ending ops list by going at all these people that I named you before, of course none of whom are actual rappers, sending these sneak disses from his Finsta account all the way from Australia. Oh, and changing lyrics to some of his songs during his performances in Australia, dissing LeBron by changing lyrics from how I go from 6 to 23 like I'm LeBron to how I go from 6 to 23 but not LeBron, or changing his lyrics on Knife Talk to Beef is Live, spoiler alert, I didn't die. And no, Drake hasn't died. That's why it's so ridiculous that we continue seeing him act like a child on Instagram. This is the same guy that 10 years ago when Tyga was dating an underage Kylie Jenner, Drake rapped, "You need to act your age and not your girl's age." The same year, he also called Meek Mill Twitter fingers. Now he's devoting entire album rollouts to sending sneak disses at media personalities like Ebro and Joe Budden, or basketball players like LeBron and DeRozan. Like, for those of you who don't know what a Finsta is, just the idea that Drake has one is childish. Like, the purpose of a Finsta, I believe at least from what I've seen, is to gossip, show behind the scenes of your life, and sneak diss your exes. Like, I found out what a Finsta was because when I was in high school, girls from my high school had Finstas, and they wouldn't let me add them because they didn't want me to know what they were gossiping about. Now Drake has a public Finsta for the world to see all of his high school girl activities. And my point is, he's right when he said, you know, spoiler alert, I didn't die. He is and can always be a massive pop artist. Has irreparable damage been done to his legacy within hip-hop? Sure, from the L's he took to both Kendrick and Pusha T, from throwing rocks and hiding his hands with Joe Budden, no pun intended since some Drake fans literally went to Joe Budden's house and threw rocks at him, or, getting exposed for having ghostwriters throughout his beef with Meek Mill. At least throughout all these older beefs that Drake had, he would channel his anger and, respond to them, whether it was through sneak disses or direct disses, it was all through the music. Kendrick has him so shook up that he's dropping R&B albums, completely switching genres, sneak dissing everyone except a rapper, doing it all on social media, and worst of all, attempting to compromise the integrity of rap battles and diss songs by filing lawsuits at record companies. So before we get into all the BS that Drake has been on in promotion of this new album, I have a question for any lawyers that might be watching this video. I came across an interesting clip of a lawyer speaking on the possibility of the NFL and Fox getting sued for Kendrick performing Not Like Us. I'm not a lawyer, I don't know what the repercussions could be, but take a look at what this lawyer thinks.
The NFL knew or should have known that there was existing litigation. I think I'd rather be on Drake's side because it's reckless disregard. It's the malice. And so malice is defined as a reckless disregard for the truth or knowingly publishing something with knowing it's false. And so in this case, they knew or should have known it was reckless for them to allow it. The lawyer should have said, we're not going to allow this song to be performed. He's got plenty of other songs. You do not need to have this one. We're not allowing this kind of on-air beef. Stupid.
Drake's legal team also filed a statement right before the Super Bowl aired saying UMG is masquerading as a champion of artistic freedom by calling its actions merely quote-unquote entertainment. But there's nothing entertaining about PDF file in the real world. We're confident that the evidence we will ultimately present at trial, including information we've already learned and continue to receive since filing the lawsuit, will expose UMG's gross prioritization of its own corporate profits and executive bonuses over its exclusively signed artists' well-being and the truth. In that case, shouldn't Meek Mill sue MMG and Atlantic for all the reputational damage that Drake did to his career back in 2015? Maybe Kanye West could jump in there and file a lawsuit too? I mean, he had to hear crept down the block, made a right, cut the lights during his kid's birthday party after all. And then of course, when you talk about truths and how UMG knew that the PDF file claims Kendrick made were blatant lies, but still published and promoted them, what about them publishing and promoting Family Matters? I'm definitely excited to see the evidence that Drake's legal team brings to this trial. So, of course, if you guys have been keeping up, Kendrick had not one, but two of Drake's exes with him on stage during his Super Bowl halftime performance, both SZA and Serena Williams. Drake dated Serena Williams on and off between 2011 and 2015. He actually got in a beef with Common over Serena, which led to some pretty entertaining diss songs. Stay Scheming, in my opinion, still one of Drake's best feature verses of all time. But years after Drake dated Serena, he decided to take shots at her husband, rapping on Middle of the Ocean in 2022. Sidebar, Serena, your husband's a groupie. He claims we don't got a problem, but no, boo, it is like you coming for sushi. We might pop up on him at will, like Suzuki. And I've seen a couple people clown Serena Williams' husband. Like, yes, he's married to Serena Williams, but this guy isn't some average Joe. He's the co-founder of Reddit. Meanwhile, Drake is the founder of the OVO sweatshop. Anyways, Serena decided to fire back by crip walking on stage while Kendrick performed Not Like Us. And again, instead of going to Kendrick for saying things like, I want to play their favorite song, but I know they're going to sue, on stage in front of 133 million people, Drake decided to direct his attention onto Serena Williams by going on his Finsta and posting pictures of himself with Jill Smoller, Serena Williams' former agent. And it's funny that he's doing this petty stuff just days after giving a speech at one of his Australian concerts saying that you gotta raise your standards for yourself.
If you want the things that you really want in life, you gotta start raising your standards for yourself. You gotta stop settling for bullshit. Like, for example, stop the music for a second. It's Sunday night. If you're gonna drink out here in Melbourne tonight, make sure the drink is good. You understand what I'm saying to you? Raise your standards for yourself. If you're gonna smoke out here in Melbourne tonight, make sure the smoke is good. Raise your standards for yourself. And last but not least, if anybody in this crowd is in Melbourne tonight, if y'all gonna be each other, man, if you got a girl, you got a man, or whatever it is, if y'all are tonight, my number one piece of advice is make sure the sex is good. Thank you very much. Raise your standards for yourself.
And on a side note, with the whole Serena thing, yes, she knew what she was doing by dancing while Kendrick performed Not Like Us, but there was a bigger purpose to her being on that stage. It wasn't all about Drake. She posted on Instagram after the performance saying, when Kendrick and his team called and was like, we've been trying to do something forever. What about this? We loved your crip walk at the Olympics after you won the gold medal. I'm like, Super Bowl? Are you serious? When in the world would I ever be able to dance at a Super Bowl? Never. Let's do it. I knew my winning dance after the Olympics would pay off one day. End of story. And she was making a statement because back in 2012 during the Olympics, she celebrated her win by crip walking. And she faced tons of backlash for this as people perceived it as quote unquote glorifying gang culture rather than simply a nod at her hometown LA. So doubling back to crip walk on an even bigger stage at the Super Bowl is not just her saying F you to Drake, but really her saying F you to anyone who ignorantly criticized her for doing the dance in the past. But of course, Drake has to make the moment about him and directing smoke to anyone except for Kendrick, with the main focus on women. For some reason, he's always taking shots at women. Megan Thee Stallion, Ice Spice, Rihanna, Serena. He said in a 2022 interview with Lil Yachty that one of his regrets early on was the fact that he always mentioned women by name in his songs, but he only still continues to do that. Go listen to Bahamas Promises. And with every one of his rap beefs, he's got to bring women involved. With Meek Mill, it was Nicki Minaj. With Pusha T, he mentioned his wife. With his Kendrick beef, he mentioned Whitney countless times. And now he's beefing the CEO of Universal Music Group, Lucian Grange, and mentioning his daughter-in-law. We're going to touch on that shortly. Side note, I'm listening to this new album right now. There's still some more shots at women and really at the whole rap game in general. So stay tuned for a full breakdown of this new album. And with Drake, it's always about shooting downwards. Even with Kendrick at first, he highly underestimated Kendrick's skills, didn't take him seriously as an opponent, taunted him for taking his time to craft his diss tracks. But when Kendrick came out to destroy him, Drake plays the victim. Same thing with Pusha T. And instead, he redirects his attention onto targets that he feels are beneath him. With his Pusha T beef, it was Kanye West, because he knew Kanye wouldn't come out and start battle rapping him. With Meek, he won that beef, so he kept taunting him. With all these women he takes shots at, he knows they're not going to fire back, so he keeps it going. With Joe Budden, he throws sneak disses and then hides his hand. He's calculated in that sense, in that he loves the conflict, he thrives off it, but once he feels like he's faced against a serious competitor, he tucks his tail. Joe Budden threw like 8 diss tracks at him. Drake didn't respond to any. But now he's posting videos of Joe Budden on his Finsta. And Joe Budden actually responded, but he's telling Drake, like, this is 7 years too late. Joe, back in 2016, was very ready for a full-on rap beef with Drake. 2024 comes around, Kendrick destroys him, and now Drake feels like it's the time to take shots at Joe. Joe's like, nah, not this time, buddy. You're not following through.
Hey, Drake, don't shoot at me now that you ice cold. I'm not doing it back and forth with a corpse.
Come on, man.
I wanted to do it when you was lit. It was fun. Don't go get shot all through the year and then pop up like Bernie at Weeknd at Bernie's wanting to shoot at me now. No.
And aside from calling him ice cold, he emphasizes, like, there's 100 other people shooting at you right now. Go devote your attention to them. Show the world that you might be champagne petty petition poppy, but that pettiness should be threatening. Because right now, all these temper tantrums you're throwing make you look like a 7-year-old A minor.
Go spin. Spin the block. Are you crazy? I'll save it.
You know it's pod day.
And 99 done jumped on your ass. You out smoking hookah in turquoise boots. Don't post me. Go get your lick back.
And he emphasizes that he still is excited for this new Party album with Drake that just dropped, but to not use Joe for his album rollout.
I'm buying that album Friday.
Yeah, I'm not buying the album, but not buying the album.
You're not buying the album?
I'm not a Party fan. Y'all know that. I don't fuck with Party music.
That's true.
I'm gonna listen to it. I'm not expecting much.
I want some sexy songs for the ladies and Joe. I like Drake with the melodies. They ain't gonna shoot at me while you drop your party out. Boy, you gotta come shoot at one of his pallbearers.
He said he ain't dead, he's still alive. That's what he said.
That is could be. It's just you and Ack now.
He said I left.
You, Ack, and Adin.
And on a side note, Joe Budden and Drake have a long history of both love and hate. Drop a comment if I should do a whole video breaking down their very long, complex, oftentimes one-sided back and forth.
You're the only one that, like, avoids me for some strange reason.
Never avoid you. I just don't see you. We're never in the same place.
Because I'm too broke?
I didn't want to say.
You invited Elliot and Bada over there to the embassy.
Now, aside from Joe Budden, obviously you guys know that Drake completely redirected the smoke that he had for Kendrick onto his record label UMG, suing them for defamation for publishing and promoting Kendrick's song Not Like Us. Lucian Grange is the CEO of Universal Music Group. His son, Elliot Grange, I believe is now the CEO of Atlantic Records. I could be wrong. He has his own record label, 10K Projects. They signed like Ice Spice, 6ix9ine, Trippie Redd. Anyways, he's married to this beautiful lady, Sophie Richie, Lionel Richie's daughter. And Drake, of course, being the petty petition filing, colonizing clown that he is, had to post a picture of Lucian Grange's daughter-in-law wearing OVO merch. Again, bringing the women involved for no apparent reason. She's also the only account that his plot twist account follows. And now, of course, a bunch of OV hoes had to go to her pictures and comment a bunch of owl emojis. Again, this is like high school level drama. And for what? To promote an album? To show the world how petty you are? He just said on this new album, like, he can't get over the beef. He literally said that, but he chooses to target women and retired rappers instead of someone who could actually pose a threat to him. And let me correct myself, he posted 2 pictures of her, one of her in an OVO sweatshirt, one of her in OVO pajamas, seemingly doing a photo shoot for his OVO clothing line, and he captioned one of the pictures saying, "Somebody loves us." The only pictures he posted on this page that were positive were pictures of T-Pain and Lil Wayne. Legendary duo. Unfortunately, him and Party Next Door couldn't live up to their greatness on their new collab album. Stay tuned again for a breakdown of that album either tomorrow or the next day. Today, we got to talk about the clown show of an album rollout that Drake put on in promotion of this new project. So, aside from sneak dissing Lucian Grange's daughter-in-law, Joe Budden, Lebron, DJ Khaled, and Serena Williams over the last few days, Drake also had to send some shots at Ebro. Of course, no rappers. He was too scared to actually go at a rapper, but Ebro recently did the first interview we've heard from Kendrick since this whole beef happened. It was kind of like the press conference for the Super Bowl halftime show. And it seems like maybe Kendrick influenced Ebro a little bit because he didn't have the best things to say about Drake. He got on his radio show and spoke on the Super Bowl halftime show saying that he disagrees with a lot of people's criticisms and that Kendrick's show wasn't all about Drake, which I agree with as well. But he starts really digging into Drake, and some of it I think is maybe a little bit of a stretch or a little bit too far. I mean, I agree with him here. He says, you know, it could have been any rapper that Kendrick went up against. It was the fact that he didn't like what Drake represented.
Going back to the whole thing, did it get personal? Yes. Was it specifically between Kendrick and Drake? Yes. Drake is not that important. The reason Drake's in this is because he is a sickness in the game. It could have been any artist. It's what Drake represents. We've been saying this for months.
Where I think it's a bit problematic is that Ebro's the global editorial head of hip-hop and R&B for Apple Music. When someone like that has that much influence within, you know, the second largest streaming company in the world, and they specifically think that one artist is a sickness to the culture and are publicly expressing it, while I don't necessarily disagree with Ebro, I think it leads us down a slippery slope when people with this type of influence have this type of bias, right? I don't think it's good for music in general if certain artists get blacklisted or mistreated because, you know, the people in charge of the playlisting and who's on the homepages, those people shouldn't let their biases have any impact in how artists are treated by streaming companies. Let Drake dig his own grave. And he continues saying that Drake needs to do ayahuasca like Kendrick prescribed him.
People love Drake. We love his music. He's beloved. He's not willing to go rip his soul from the bottom and do ayahuasca and look himself in the mirror as Kendrick had prescribed to him. No, but it's about what the game does to someone who's trying to dominate it. A lot of artists have been through what Drake's going through. Not too many.
And he emphasizes or elaborates what he means on Drake having a sickness in that Drake is constantly trying to chase all of these different sounds simultaneously, which in turn waters him down as an artist. And while he might reach his goal of, you know, being the most dominant rapper from a commercial perspective, the influence he's bringing isn't necessarily positive when he's setting this precedent of being fixated on the charts, on diluting your sound to appease a wider mainstream audience.
Somebody who's chart chasing, just trying to dominate the game and losing themselves while they're trying to chase the game. You guys are just focused on the battle. You're not focused on the actual sickness. You're trying to dominate R&B. You're trying to dominate hip-hop. You're trying to dominate pop. You're trying to have people write your records. You're trying to do all of these things simultaneously. And oh, by the way, you're also behind the scenes doing people dirty. Like he's trying, like it hasn't happened at this level before.
I mean, Kendrick had the same message for Drake, but of course Drake had to clap back at Ebro, not Kendrick, posting a picture on his Finsta of Ebro in a pot of holistic medicine. That one's kind of funny, I'll give him that. But now we get to the worst part of this whole thing. So Drake and Party Next Door dropped this album, right? The album is called Sexy Songs for You, but the S's are replaced with $signs, $3. On a side note, if he wanted 3 S's, he should have named this album Spiraling Sensitive Sexy Red Stunt Double. Or instead of some sexy songs for you, it should have been some stolen songs for you, because not only did he probably have Party Next Door ghostwrite a lot of his stuff, or at least bite his sound, the album artwork and the title actually might have been stolen. So the track list featured these 3 cartoon bunnies, and again, the album title is $3 for You. Now, Freddie Gibbs, back in 2022, had an album called Soul Sold Separately, all with 3 S's replaced with $signs as well, and his album cover and his mascot for the next few years after that album was also a rabbit. Freddie Gibbs pointed this out, retweeting a fan who said using the $signs and rabbit from Freddie Gibbs is nasty work. And he said, damn, they even stole the rabbits too? I'm flattered. Then Bootleg Kev tweeted out, little known story, Drake met Freddie Gibbs when he was working on his $sign album, even had talks of hopping on the album. He's very hip and aware of the wave. I took the only pic of Freddie and Drake that exists too. Some light biting happening for sure. He continued saying, myself, Freddie Gibbs, and Drake sat at a bar in West Hollywood for over an hour talking basketball, hip-hop, etc. Gibbs, my witness, Drake was arguing with me about why I thought he didn't have a classic album. Same convo where Drake and I made a bet about my Phoenix Suns. During that convo, Fred and Drake talked about his hopping on something for $sign album. Freddie sent him a record Pharrell produced that never made the album, but Drake intended to get on it or something. Never came to fruition, but Drake is a fan of Freddie, as any hip-hop head would be. I'm not saying the coincidence of Drake and P&D using $signs and rabbits was intentional or not, but what y'all OV-hoes not about to do is act like Freddie Gibbs is reaching. Now, what's even worse than this is the album cover features Drake and Party Next Door in front of the Marilyn Monroe Towers in Mississauga, Party Next Door's hometown, and there's this other artist by the name of John River from Mississauga who shot a video for his song Hope City 2 in front of those same towers, and he claims he was pretty much ripped off of this and Party Next Door threatened to blackball him, taking to his Instagram, showing the picture of Drake and Party's album cover saying, I said no to writing for you guys at the lunch. Then you say you want to hear my vision one-on-one on the phone and then steal anyways. And he went into more detail saying Party Next Door wanted to get on a call after my video went viral in the country. On this call that lasted around 2 hours, he told me he watched the video 20 times and me in front of the Monroe Towers was labeled new, innovative, and iconic. He quoted Party saying, why are you getting attention instead of me is exactly what he said. For over an hour, he then told me and tweeted then deleted that I needed to always pay him homage. Party said, you're young and you don't want to get blackballed. The rest of the call, he was fixated on every aspect and detail of my video, the towers, and my vision for the city. Multiple people were present. I told him I respect his music, but homage was strange. When another OVO artist asked to sit down, he also began asking in depth about me, the Monroe Towers, my thought process, and all of my future music plans surrounding them. He then asked if I'd write for them, to which I said no. He never spoke to or saw me again personally. This started when I was a teen and has been happening up to as recently as 6 months ago under the guise of admiration. I got 12 texts on Tuesday around noon, and then I saw the P&D cover and I instantly knew what had happened and been happening. I would never claim a freestanding building as my own. Telling someone after obsessing over their work you want to be involved, dissecting it, being rejected, and then stealing their identity and reselling it as your own is insane. Taking this further or any direction will be painted as crashing out. I don't want anything. The Bible says speak truth against injustice, defend the poor, and fear no man. I don't care about anything else. Basically saying like, I'm not claiming those 2 towers as my artistic identity, but I featured them in my music video. You dissected it, told me you loved it, asked me to write for you, told me if I don't pay you homage, I'm going to be blackballed, and then you go and basically steal the same visuals that I had for my music video. We don't know if all these interactions between this artist, John River, and OVO are actually true. This is coming from the artist himself, but you can see that the music video featured him in front of these towers very similarly to this new album cover, and obviously the music video was released before the album. So if you want to chalk it up to inspiration and not biting, I guess you could say there's a whole lot of inspiration going on. Now, just some more strange behavior between Drake and women associated to rappers or just personalities that he's beefing with. A Twitter user by the name of Ryan Nice pointed out that after Mos Def said that Drake made Target music or shopping mall music, Drake followed that up by following Mos Def's daughter on Instagram and liking a post where she stated that she had just turned 18. He doesn't post screenshots of that post, but you can go look it up for yourself, and Drake most definitely does follow this young lady. On a separate note, 2 Chainz, who was mentioned in Kendrick's third verse of Not Like Us, where he name drops all those Atlanta artists and then says, you know, you run to Atlanta when you need a few dollars, you're not a colleague, you're a colonizer. He name drops 2 Chainz saying, 2 Chainz say you good, but he lied. And 2 Chainz was asked how he felt about being mentioned in that song, basically saying that he thinks Kendrick definitely wasn't taking a shot at 2 Chainz, but essentially was just using his name as wordplay since Drake and 2 Chainz have a song together called No Lie.
I just think it was kind of like some wordplay because Drake and I got a song called No Lie. And so when he said he lied, I just felt like, I don't know. I don't think he was taking a shot at me. I've heard all type of instances where somebody wanted me to say something back. I just think it was a moment where it was about Atlanta artists. I do have a couple plaques with Drake, probably 3 or 4 plaques with Drake. So I think a lot of the people in that verse got song with him, so that was just Kendrick way of just dialing in on some subject matter type stuff.
Lil Baby also spoke on being mentioned in that song. He wasn't too happy about it, saying, you know, he's on the other side of hip-hop, whatever that means, and to keep his name out of that. 2 Chainz says he wasn't insulted per se, and he actually knows of Atlanta artists who were insulted that they weren't mentioned. Kind of like with Kendrick's Control verse, where he name-dropped, you know, who he thought were rappers at the top of their game in that period of time, and the most responses he got were from rappers who he didn't actually name drop, who probably felt insulted that Kendrick didn't think they were worthy enough of being mentioned in that conversation.
I could tell you that people who named me didn't say felt some type of way, you know what I'm saying? So I was okay with it, you know what I'm saying? You got other Atlanta artists like, man, homies, you know. So I
That's what Lil Baby said. Lil Baby said he said, keep me out of that. I don't want my name mentioned.
Yeah, some people didn't want their name. Some people was like, why he didn't say my name? And it just, you know, like it's just a moment. It was just a moment that,
And 2 Chainz ultimately says it made no difference in his life, but his kid, funny enough, in high school actually did get asked about the song.
But it didn't do nothing to me. I think my Harmony, my middle kid, definitely says somebody asked at school, but it didn't get hectic or nothing.
I ain't even hear about it. I ain't even lie.
Yeah,
what you mean?
You
ain't never heard Not Like Us?
No, I didn't hear no name.
No, he said when he do the Atlanta lines.
The last verse.
Another OG Gilly the Kid, who ironically had a lot of smoke with Drake's mentor Lil Wayne years ago, claiming that he actually ghost wrote majority of Wayne's Carter 1 album. He was asked why he thinks, you know, all these rappers were coming at Drake, and he chalks it up to essentially it being about women.
At the end of the day, the whole industry came at Drake at one time.
Yeah, why? I think Drake put so many of them on.
Let me just tell you something. Anytime, let's be for real. All of them got money.
Yes.
This is what we talking about.
Okay.
What is it ever to be finna with some bitches?
Right.
Had to be about some bitches. You know Drake. Come on, man. Drake slaying them and spraying them, man. Putting bitches all on the plane, man. Yeah. What else we got the beef about?
And again, you got to ask yourself, like every single beef Drake gets involved in, it's instinctive for him to bring his opponent's significant other into the conversation. Every time he loses a beef, he's got to bring women into the equation. I named you a bunch of examples beforehand: Pusha T, Meek Mill, Kendrick, even Lucy and Grange now, but we're forgetting his whole back and forth with Kanye West as well, right? Kanye had to get on Instagram and say, Drake, stop insinuating that you slept with my wife in the past. Drake was making songs like Kiki, Do You Love Me? Or, you know, your trainer's listening to my music, your sisters are listening to my music, your wife might be doing a little more than just listening to my music. I mean, years after ignoring all of Joe Budden's diss tracks, he just dropped his new album tonight. He's already taking shots at Joe Budden's co-host on his podcast, Melissa Ford, specifically for hanging around Joe Budden. He always brings family involved, always directs the energy to his opponent's significant other, and then tries to play the victim, wondering why the entire industry takes shots at him. He's pushing 40 with no wife, no significant other, but never seizes the opportunity to take shots at any woman he had previously been romantically involved with, or the spouse of any rapper he's beefing with. It says more about his insecurities within his own romantic life, especially since he always dodges the smoke with the actual opponent. Like Kendrick said, before you think about pushing me, go push a T. But I'll leave you guys with some advice that Mustard, the producer of obviously Not Like Us, had for Drake, because I think it's pretty powerful and sums up the exact opposite of what Drake has been doing, especially in the last week with his Finstagram account. Essentially, the best thing Drake could do while Kendrick takes this victory lap, winning all these Grammys, performing Not Like Us in front of 30% of the country, the one thing he should do is remain authentic, continue putting out good music, and stay off social media. Delete that freaking Finstagram account. Like, it started off with Drake posting behind the scenes of him in the studio cooking up, which was great. It was positive. Now it's turned into a sneak dissing sob fest for the sensitive Sexy Red stunt double.
What the hell does Drake do after all this?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I actually don't think about what he could do. I have no idea. I kind of try to stay aligned with like just being pure and being on the right side of things and not doing no tactics and gimmicks. The tactics, the things that you do just to get attention. You don't need to do that. Just make music, man, and make good music and you'll be fine.
But let me know what you guys think. Are you bumping this new Drake album? Will you tune in for my full breakdown of it? Have you hit that subscribe, that like button? Please do. If not, I might have to pull a Drake and Sue, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.